My wife said she accidentally got pregnant by my brother because she thought it was me in the dark and expected me to raise the baby as our own. I'm writing this story because even 6 months later, I still can't believe what my wife Lisa told me when she announced her pregnancy, and I need to get it all out before I completely lose my sanity trying to understand how someone could expect another person to believe such an outrageous lie. My name is Ryan, and I've been married to Lisa for 5 years. Until 8 months ago, I thought we had a strong marriage built on love, trust, and shared goals for our future together. I was completely wrong about Lisa's character and her capacity for honesty. Lisa and I met through mutual friends when we were both 26, and we got married after dating for 2 years. We bought a house together 3 years ago in a quiet suburban neighborhood, and we'd been actively trying to have children for the past year and a half. Lisa works as a nurse at the local hospital, and I work as an electrical contractor with my own small business. We seem to have everything we needed to build a happy family together. My younger brother Marcus is 28 and has always been the more outgoing and charismatic one between the two of us. He's single, works as a fitness instructor, and has a lifestyle that's pretty different from mine. Marcus travels frequently for work, teaching at different gyms and fitness conventions, and he's always been popular with women because of his personality and athletic build. Despite our different lifestyles, Marcus and I have always been close, and Lisa seemed to get along well with him during family gatherings and holidays. About a year ago, Marcus went through a difficult period when he was between apartments and needed a place to stay temporarily. He'd been living with a girlfriend who kicked him out after their relationship ended badly, and he was looking for a new place while dealing with some financial difficulties related to his business. Lisa and I offered to let Marcus stay in our guest room for what we thought would be a few weeks while he got back on his feet. Marcus ended up staying with us for 4 months, which was longer than any of us had initially planned. He was trying to save money for a security deposit on a new apartment, and he was also dealing with some complications related to his business that made it difficult for him to commit to a lease. Lisa and I didn't mind having Marcus around because he was helpful with household chores and maintenance projects, and it was nice to have family nearby. During the time Marcus was living with us, I noticed that he and Lisa seemed to have developed a comfortable friendship. They would chat in the kitchen while making coffee in the mornings, watch TV together in the evenings when I was working late, and Lisa would often ask Marcus for advice about fitness and nutrition since that was his area of expertise. I thought it was great that my wife and brother were getting along so well, and I appreciated that Lisa was making Marcus feel welcome in our home. Marcus finally moved into his own apartment in February, and Lisa and I returned to our normal routine as a couple. Everything seemed fine between us, and we continued trying to conceive a child while focusing on our careers and home improvement projects. Lisa seemed happy and relaxed, and I thought our marriage was stronger than ever after successfully navigating the extended houseguest situation with Marcus. In May, Lisa told me she had some wonderful news that she'd been hoping to share for weeks. She was pregnant, and based on her calculations, the baby was due in early January. I was absolutely thrilled because we'd been trying to have a baby for so long, and I felt like all our hopes and dreams were finally coming true. Lisa seemed excited too, though I noticed she was also somewhat nervous and emotional about the pregnancy. We spent the next few weeks celebrating and making plans for our growing family. I started researching cribs and car seats, Lisa scheduled her first prenatal appointment, and we began discussing how we would convert our home office into a nursery. I felt like the luckiest man in the world, and I couldn't wait to become a father. Lisa's first prenatal appointment was in early June, and I took time off work to accompany her because I wanted to be involved in every aspect of the pregnancy. During the appointment, the doctor performed an ultrasound to determine the baby's due date and check for any potential complications. Based on the ultrasound measurements, the doctor told us that Lisa was about 10 weeks pregnant, which meant the baby had been conceived around the first week of April. At first, I didn't think much about the specific timing, but later that evening I started doing some mental calculations and realized that the conception date didn't quite match what Lisa had told me about when she first suspected she was pregnant. When I mentioned this discrepancy to Lisa, she said that pregnancy dating could be imprecise and that she must have been confused about her cycle timing. Over the next few weeks, I found myself thinking more about the timeline of Lisa's pregnancy and trying to remember what had been happening in our lives around the time of conception. I recalled that I had been working on a major electrical project for a commercial client during most of April, which had required me to work long hours and sometimes stay overnight at the job site when we were dealing with tight deadlines. I also remembered that Marcus had been in town during the first week of April because he'd come to pick up some belongings he'd left in our garage when he moved out. He'd stayed overnight in our guest room for a couple of nights because he was driving a rental truck and didn't want to make multiple trips back and forth to his new apartment. When I mentioned to Lisa that Marcus had been staying with us around the time the baby was conceived, she became defensive and asked why I was obsessing over dates and timelines instead of focusing on the excitement of our pregnancy. She said that constantly analyzing the conception timing was making her feel uncomfortable and stressed, and that it wasn't healthy for her or the baby. I tried to push aside my concerns about the timing because I didn't want to create problems in our marriage over what might be innocent coincidences. Lisa was right that pregnancy dating could be imprecise, and I trusted my wife completely. I focused on preparing for fatherhood and supporting Lisa through her pregnancy symptoms and doctor appointments. However, as Lisa's pregnancy progressed, I started noticing some things that made me increasingly uncomfortable. Lisa seemed unusually anxious about certain aspects of the pregnancy, particularly anything related to genetic testing or determining paternity. When her doctor suggested routine genetic screening tests, Lisa declined them, saying she didn't want to risk any procedures that might harm the baby. Lisa also became very secretive about her medical appointments and would often schedule them during times when I was working and couldn't accompany her. When I asked about what the doctor had said during these appointments, Lisa would give vague answers and say that everything was routine and normal. I also noticed that Lisa had been having more frequent contact with Marcus since announcing her pregnancy. She would text him regularly and sometimes have long phone conversations that she claimed were about family planning advice and his experiences with our mutual friends who had children. When I asked why she was consulting Marcus about pregnancy and parenting topics, Lisa said that Marcus had been helpful and supportive during a stressful time. The situation reached a breaking point in August when I came home early from work and overheard Lisa having an emotional phone conversation in our bedroom. She was crying and saying things like, "I don't know what to do and this is so much harder than I thought it would be." When she saw me, she quickly ended the call and claimed she had been talking to her sister about work stress. That evening, I confronted Lisa about her behavior and told her that I was concerned about her secrecy and anxiety regarding the pregnancy. I asked her directly if there was something she wasn't telling me about the baby or about what had happened during the time of conception. Lisa became very upset and accused me of not trusting her and of creating problems where none existed. I told Lisa that I loved her and wanted to support her, but that I needed her to be honest with me about whatever was making her so anxious and secretive. I said that we could work through any problems together, but only if she was willing to tell me the truth about what was happening. Lisa broke down crying and said that she had something to tell me that was going to be very difficult to understand and that she hoped I would be able to forgive her for keeping it secret. She said that something had happened during Marcus's visit in April that she had been afraid to tell me about because she knew it would be upsetting and confusing. According to Lisa's story, on one of the nights when Marcus was staying in our guest room and I was working late at the job site, she had been awakened in the middle of the night by someone getting into bed with her. Lisa claimed that she had assumed it was me coming home from work, and that she had been half asleep and disoriented in the dark bedroom. Lisa said that she and this person had engaged in sexual activity, and that it wasn't until afterward that she realized it had been Marcus rather than me. She claimed that Marcus had been confused and disoriented too, and that he had thought he was getting into his own bed in the guest room but had mistakenly come into our master bedroom instead. According to Lisa, when they both realized what had happened, they were shocked and embarrassed and agreed that it had been a terrible mistake caused by confusion and darkness. Lisa said that Marcus had immediately returned to the guest room, and that they had both decided not to tell me about the incident because it would be hurtful and unnecessary since it had been completely accidental. Lisa concluded her story by explaining that when she discovered she was pregnant, she realized that the baby might be Marcus's rather than mine, but that she hadn't known how to handle the situation or whether she should tell me about the possibility. She said she had been hoping that the baby would look like me and that the paternity question would never become an issue. I sat there listening to this absolutely incredible story, trying to process what Lisa was telling me and whether she actually expected me to believe that she had accidentally had sexual intercourse with my brother because she thought he was me. The idea that two adults could mistake each other for different people during intimate physical contact seemed completely impossible and insulting to my intelligence. I asked Lisa how she could possibly not realize that she was having sexual contact with Marcus rather than me, given that we have different builds, different voices, and different physical characteristics. Lisa said that it had been completely dark in the room and that she had been half asleep and not paying attention to details that would normally help her identify who she was with. I pointed out that our bedroom has a digital clock with bright numbers, street light coming through the windows, and that Marcus and I have significantly different body types and heights. Lisa became defensive and said that I wasn't understanding how disorienting it could be to wake up suddenly in the middle of the night and that I was being unreasonable to expect perfect awareness during such a confusing situation. When I asked Lisa why Marcus would have come into our bedroom instead of using the guest bathroom or returning to his own room, she said that Marcus had told her later that he had been disoriented after using the bathroom and had gotten confused about which room was which in the dark hallway. I told Lisa that her story was completely unbelievable and that I thought she was insulting my intelligence by expecting me to accept such an obviously fabricated explanation for what was clearly intentional infidelity. Lisa became angry and accused me of calling her a liar and not giving her the benefit of the doubt during an incredibly difficult and embarrassing situation. Lisa insisted that she was telling me the truth and that my refusal to believe her was making an already terrible situation even worse. She said that she had been honest with me about something that she could have kept secret forever, and that my response was destroying any chance we had of working through this problem together. I asked Lisa whether she had any proof that the encounter with Marcus had been accidental, such as text messages or conversations where Marcus had expressed confusion or remorse about the mistake. Lisa said that she and Marcus had agreed not to discuss the incident after it happened because they were both too embarrassed and upset about it. Lisa also demanded that I not confront Marcus about the situation because she said it would be humiliating for both of them and would destroy the family relationships that were important to all of us. She said that Marcus was just as much a victim of the confusing circumstances as she was, and that involving him in our marital problems would be unfair and destructive. I told Lisa that if she wanted to save our marriage and convince me that her story was true, she needed to agree to a paternity test as soon as it was safe to perform one during the pregnancy. Lisa